Did you know that most dogs do not close their eyes when they take their final breath? But the image that haunts us the most is not that final stare. It is the quiet, often misunderstood signs in their last 24 hours. The silent, subtle messages that 90% of loving dog owners completely miss. The fleeting moments that leave us crying in the silent dark, whispering to ourselves, "If only I had understood, I would have held you just a little bit longer." Once upon a time, they were just a clumsy ball of fur, tumbling across the living room floor, destroying your favorite shoes, and filling your home with a chaotic, boundless energy. Every single day, for years, they waited by the front door, their tail wagging so hard their entire body shook, greeting you as if you were the absolute center of the universe. Until one day, the running simply slows down. The enthusiastic jumps turn into careful, hesitant steps. The vibrant spark in their eyes dims, and eventually, they just want to lie perfectly still in the quietest corner of the house. Today, through the calm and empathetic lens of animal behavioral psychology and evolutionary biology, we are going to decode the final, heartbreaking language of your dog. We will translate the silent signs they show in their last hours, so that when that dreaded day inevitably comes, you will not be paralyzed by panic or overwhelming guilt. Instead, you will know exactly how to become their safest, warmest refuge in their final transition. But be prepared, because the very first sign is usually the one that shatters an owner's heart the most, making you feel completely rejected. Yet, hidden beneath this painful behavior is an act of ultimate evolutionary sacrifice. You might wake up in the middle of the night to a strange, heavy silence. You walk into the living room, but the familiar shape on the dog bed is missing. Panic sets in as you search the house, only to find them wedged deep under the guest bed, hiding in the dark abyss of a closet, or curled up in a cold, isolated corner they have never slept in before. When you reach out to gently stroke their head, they might subtly pull away, refusing your touch, refusing your comfort. This is the moment when human misunderstanding causes profound emotional agony. As an owner, your immediate thought is a crushing wave of guilt. You think they are angry with you. You think they are terrified of you, or that they are sinking into a deep depression because you have not been a good enough parent. You feel entirely shut out when you want nothing more than to shower them with love. But nature tells a completely different, breathtakingly selfless story. This sudden withdrawal is a powerful, undeniable echo from their wild ancestry. Thousands of years ago, in the unforgiving wilderness, an animal that grew too weak to keep up with the pack became a dangerous liability. A dying wolf would attract predators, putting the entire family, the pups, and the breeding alphas in mortal danger. Your dog, despite sleeping on a soft orthopedic mattress and eating premium kibble, still carries this ancient DNA deep within their bones. They view you and your family as their cherished pack. When they feel their internal system shutting down, an overwhelming biological instinct commands them to separate themselves. They hide in the shadows, not because they do not love you, but precisely because they love you too much. They are instinctively trying to draw the imaginary predators away from you. They would rather face the terrifying unknown of death in absolute isolation than risk bringing any harm to the human who fed them, petted them, and gave them a name. It is a heartbreakingly beautiful sacrifice, a final act of devotion woven into their genetic code. So if you find them hiding, do not drag them out into the bright lights. Do not force them to endure the chaos of the household. Bring a soft blanket to their chosen sanctuary. Sit quietly beside them in the dim light. Let them know that the pack is safe, and that they are finally relieved of their duty to protect you. As the hours slowly slip away, you will inevitably confront the second, deeply distressing phase. This is when their body begins its biological shutdown process. You will sit there, listening to the agonizing sound of their altered breathing. It might become incredibly rapid, shallow, and frantic, or it might stretch into terrifyingly long pauses where you hold your own breath, waiting for their chest to rise again. You might hear a soft, trembling moan, or a low whine escaping their throat with every exhale, and then, the ultimate loss of dignity happens. Your perfectly house-trained dog, the one who would cry at the door rather than make a mess inside, suddenly loses all control of their bladder and bowels right where they are lying. The psychological toll on the owner in this exact moment is devastating. You watch the puddle spread on the blanket, and you are consumed by panic. You think they are whimpering because they are experiencing tearing, unbearable physical pain. You beat yourself up, agonizing over whether you waited too long to call the vet. You feel a profound sorrow for their lost dignity, rushing to clean it up while apologizing through your tears. But take a deep, grounding breath and listen to the science of what is actually happening inside their fading body. The central nervous system, the intricate command center of their life, is gently powering down. The sphincter muscles, which require active neurological signals to stay closed, simply relax as the brain ceases to send those commands. It is not a conscious failure, it is a biological surrender. As for the breathing and the quiet groans, I need you to know this to heal your heart. At this stage, their brain is flooding their system with a massive surge of natural endorphins, the body's own incredibly potent painkillers. Those sounds are rarely indicators of acute physical agony. Instead, as the vocal cords relax and lose their tension, the air being pushed out of the collapsing lungs simply vibrates against them, creating that mournful sound. They are not screaming in pain, they are drifting. They are floating in a hazy, painless twilight between this world and the next. They are not suffering the way your human empathy is making you imagine. As the night deepens and the shadows stretch across the silent living room, you will inevitably encounter the third and perhaps most haunting sign of their impending departure. It is the gaze of 1,000 miles, the absolute unbroken stillness of their once vibrant and expressive face. You find yourself sitting beside them on the cold hardwood floor, the only sound in the entire house being the heavy, rhythmic ticking of the antique wall clock and the gentle, almost imperceptible rustle of the old, familiar fleece blanket you carefully draped over their fragile, trembling body. Their eyes, those incredibly warm, deeply soulful brown eyes that used to eagerly track your every single movement across the busy kitchen, the eyes that begged for a piece of cheese and pleaded for one more walk in the park, are now wide open but entirely vacant. They stare blankly into the empty, darkened space of the room, completely unresponsive to the enthusiastic squeak of their absolute favorite toy, indifferent to the strong, enticing smell of roasted chicken you prepared just for them, and seemingly deaf to the desperate, pleading sound of their own name escaping your lips. The harsh scientific reality of this heartbreaking moment is that their sensory pathways, the incredible, complex biological wires that intimately connected them to your shared world, are systematically and irreversibly disconnecting. Their visual cortex, the part of the brain responsible for processing the light and shapes around them, is slowly shutting down, turning the familiar environment of the living room into a hazy, formless blur of shadows. But here is the most crucial, deeply comforting fact that veterinary science offers us in this agonizing hour of helplessness. Hearing is universally recognized by medical professionals as the very last sense to completely fade away into the silence. They might look like they have already crossed over, their body completely still, and their vision gone, but they are still securely tethered to you, anchored to the living world by the familiar, soothing sound of your voice. So, please, I urge you, do not scream in terror at the sight of their glassy eyes. Do not let your overwhelming panic and your loud, frantic sobbing be the final vibration they feel before they leave. Instead, lean down very close to their soft velvet ears. Whisper their name with all the gentleness you can muster. Tell them the story about the very first day you brought them home as a tiny, frightened puppy. Tell them what a good, incredibly brave, and fiercely loyal friend they have been through all the chapters of your life. Let the calm, steady, loving frequency of your voice be the gentle, familiar current that carries them safely and peacefully into the long, dark night. And then, just when you have fully accepted the quiet, inevitable fading of your best friend, the universe often plays its most heartbreaking, beautifully deceptive trick on the human heart. The ultimate climax of this emotional journey, the moment that shatters you completely, is a biological phenomenon known medically as terminal lucidity. It is the sudden, explosive, impossibly bright burst of light before the fragile bulb shatters forever. Picture this scene clearly. Your beloved dog has been lying completely paralyzed on their bed for days, unable to even lift their heavy, exhausted head to drink a few drops of water from your cupped hands. You have been actively mourning their slow, agonizing departure, preparing your shattered heart for the devastating end. But suddenly, against all logical odds and medical reasoning, they stagger to their frail feet. Their thin legs tremble violently under their own weight, but they push forward with an inexplicable determination. They slowly walk across the room, find you sitting quietly on the kitchen floor, and they give a weak but undeniable, joyful wag of their tail. They might even eagerly accept a small piece of their favorite sausage from your trembling fingers, and their cloudy, unfocused eyes suddenly clear up, looking directly at you with the sharp, bright, loving recognition of their much younger, healthier years. The natural human reaction to this astonishing sight is an immediate, dizzying, overwhelming surge of pure, desperate hope. You gasp for air, hot tears of immense joy streaming down your face, shouting to your family that an impossible miracle has just happened, that they are fighting back against the darkness, that they are actually going to survive and stay with you a little bit longer. You finally go to sleep that night, your exhausted heart feeling miraculously light and full of profound relief. But the very next morning, you wake up, walk out to their bed, and find only a cold, stiff, lifeless body resting peacefully on the blanket. The psychological collapse you experience in that exact, devastating moment is 1,000 times more destructive and traumatizing than if they had just slipped away quietly in the night. You feel betrayed by your own hope. But behavioral biology explains this seemingly cruel trick with profound, incredibly poetic beauty. This sudden burst of energy is not a miraculous physical recovery. This is absolutely not their failing body suddenly healing itself. This phenomenon is simply the very last reserve of adrenaline, cortisol, and deeply stored energy being dumped into their failing bloodstream all at once by a dying brain. It is a desperate, final neurological flare in the endless night. And why do they choose to use this precious final spark of life? Because they are dogs. They are deeply devoted pack animals who genuinely love you vastly more than their own survival. They do not use this final, monumental burst of energy to run outside, to hunt for food, or to play with their toys. They use every single drop of it entirely to find you. They use it to look deeply into your eyes one last time, to give you one final, reassuring tail wag, to tell you that they love you beyond measure, and to say a proper, incredibly loving goodbye before the darkness consumes them completely and forever. It is the ultimate, heart-wrenching testament to the absolutely unbreakable bond you share with this magnificent creature. As we reach the quiet, inevitable end of this painful journey, we must ask ourselves how to properly process this immense, crushing grief that threatens to drown us. In their final, fading night, what they truly need from you is not a desperate, chaotic, terrifying rush to the bright lights of the emergency veterinary clinic for a futile medical intervention that only prolongs their confusion and strips away their peace. They do not need your hysterical, uncontrollable sobbing or your frantic, panicked attempts to force-feed them water and medicine they can no longer swallow. What they need, in their last moments on Earth, is the very thing they have freely and unconditionally given you their entire, beautiful life. They need your quiet, steadfast, unconditional presence. They need the gentle, reassuring weight of your warm hand resting softly on their slowly rising and falling chest. They need to breathe in your deeply familiar scent, the comforting scent of their beloved home, the absolute scent of safety and belonging. Above all else, they need you to find the impossible courage to give them the hardest, most loving, and most selfless permission any human being can ever give to another soul. They need you to look deeply into their fading eyes, to somehow smile through your devastating, blinding tears, and whisper the words they are waiting to hear. You did such a good, perfect job, my sweet, loyal friend. You have protected me enough. You can go now. I promise you I will be okay. The silence that follows their final breath is deafening, a stark, painful contrast to the lively pitter-patter of energetic paws that once joyfully filled your hallways. You will reach down out of habit to pet a furry head that is no longer there, and you will listen closely for a happy bark that will never come again. The agonizing, suffocating pain you feel aggressively tearing at your chest when you lose a dog, the profound emptiness that echoes in the quiet house, the tears that fall when you find their fur on your coat months later. All of this heavy, suffocating grief is simply the entirely fair, non-negotiable price we must gladly pay for the immense privilege of experiencing a decade of pure, unadulterated, absolute, unconditional love. We willingly absorb this terrible pain so that they do not have to live a single day without us. They leave a permanent paw print on our souls that time can never, ever erase. If you have ever had to say this heartbreaking goodbye, please, I encourage you to share the story of your final moments with your incredible four-legged best friend in the comments section below. Let us build a safe, deeply healing community space where their beautiful memories and their undying loyalty can be celebrated and live on forever. Do not forget to gently press the like button and subscribe to our channel to join our growing family of animal lovers as we continue to explore the profound emotional lives of the pets we cherish so dearly. And before you go, many grieving owners ask me, do dogs actually know how to cry real tears of profound sadness like humans do when their hearts are completely broken? The scientific biological truth about a dog's tears and how they process emotional sorrow will completely change how you look at them forever. Make sure your notifications are turned on, and I will see you in the very next video to uncover that mystery together.